What is going on, Pats Nation? It's your boy Colby with Patriots Global back here with another video. And as you can see, I'm not alone today. I'm not alone today because I got my longtime friend Broshmo on the channel, back on the channel. If you guys actually are longtime subscribers, you would remember Broshmo. We had him on like 2 years ago, and I like to have him on every year. Unfortunately, me and time management, they just don't mesh well together. I was telling Broshmo before we started, but I'm just super happy that we were able to get him on in some capacity for the 2024 draft. And today we're going to be breaking down the good and the bad from the Patriots draft. And if you guys don't know Broshmo, he is your one-stop shop for quite literally everything football. During the regular season, he's talking college football, he's talking NFL power rankings, but his bread and butter is talking about the draft process, especially during the offseason. I mean, ranking every single position. He has you covered for like the Senior Bowl, everything, the East-West Shrine Bowl, mock drafts, mock the mocks. This is the guy that I trust most when it comes to talking about these prospects. So we are going to be talking about every single player the Patriots drafted. So let's roll that intro. Broshmo, how we doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. That was a hell of an intro for me, dude. Thank you.
Heck yeah, dude. Broshmo has popped off the scene over the last few years, man. I remember back in the day when we were working together, because me and Broshmo used to work together. We're not going to name the company.
Yeah, we're not going to say that.
In which we worked for. If you know, you know. That was a bust of a time. But Broshmo was like just starting up, and now you have over 40,000 subscribers. Like, this dude is popping off the scene. Again, nobody I trust more when it comes to this process than Broshmo. But let's just hop right into this. So the Patriots, they end up taking 8 players total in the draft. First and foremost, I thought that they were going to trade down. At least I thought in some capacity they were going to add more draft picks. You know, it sounded like Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo. That was something big that they believed in doing. You know, even after selecting Drake Maye on day one, they had said that they want to compile more picks. They believe that the best way to hit on the draft is by having more shots at the draft, which means having more overall draft picks. But they come out with the draft the same amount of picks that they had going in. They stay at the 3rd overall pick, and there was a lot of discussion on them potentially moving out, potentially trading down, and the board fell exactly how you want the board to fall if you're a New England Patriots fan. Jayden Daniels goes 2, obviously Caleb Williams goes 1, but there are some Patriots fans who are questioning the pick, who believe that Drake Maye isn't going into a great situation, and the Patriots should have waited for a quarterback, as dumb as it sounds. But I believe that in any other draft, Drake Maye is the consensus #1 quarterback, and I truly do believe that. I think that he fits the Patriots system even better than Jayden Daniels or even Caleb Williams does, and he's one of the best quarterbacks throwing over the middle of the field, which is exactly where Alex Van Pelt is going to operate with the Patriots' new offensive scheme. What did you think about this pick?
For me, it was no brainer. The minute Jayden Daniels was taking it too. Like, forget trading the pick. I mean, there were some lucrative offers. I saw a little bit of what the Vikings were trying to offer and whatnot to get up. But when you're this high, you take that swing on that guy, right? You take the swing on quarterback because you don't know if you're going to be up there again next year. And even if you're like, we could trade up and get up there to get a top guy, you don't know what next year's class is going to look like. Like, you got an idea, but a year changes a lot. Like, a lot of people thought the 2022 class was going to be pretty solid at quarterback, and well, it ain't looking so good right now.
No, it's not. I mean, a lot of people are trying to compare this class to 2021, and I don't know, dude. I think it's just like it's prospect fatigue,
4 of those 5 are already traded.
It's prospect fatigue, I feel like, right? That's like Patriots fans trying to be like, oh my gosh, Drake Maye's the next Mac Jones. And it's like the players aren't even comparable. They're not similar whatsoever, other than their skin tone. Or it's trying to be like, we can't go Keon Coleman in the draft because we had N'Keal Harry, or we can't go Troy Franklin because of, Tyquan Thornton. at the end of the day, they're different players. Let it pan out, and it all depends on the situation that they go in. But what did you think, or I should say, what were your quarterback rankings heading into the 2024 draft?
So, of course, Caleb Williams, I think he was kind of in a tier by himself. And then I think that next tier was Drake Maye by himself. Like Jane Daniels,
Ooh.
nice, fine, but I think he probably had the second best arm talent in this class. Dude's got a big arm. He can make all those throws, could throw it all three levels of the field. The mechanics are pretty solid. I mean, you could talk about on the throw bases, you kind of worry about him because he's got a lot of easy misses. A lot of them came in the short to intermediate, but a lot of that's mechanics. A lot of that it's him being a little too urgent, a little too angsty, and rushing throws out. So I mean, that's something again you could trust Alex Van Pelt, who's worked with a wide range, a diversity of quarterbacks along his career to kind of work out those kinks with Drake Maye. But in terms of just talent, this is the type of guy, like you said, you could be a number one in any other class. You would take that shot on. And I mean, we're not even talking about the mobility. Like, look, this guy was hella good with his feet. He had more rushing yards than like Caleb Williams. Like, this guy could run the football too. But when he does scramble, he's scrambling looking to pass. And that's what I really like, because you got like Jaden Daniels, when he scrambles, he's looking to run. I'd rather a guy trying to use his feet to extend the play, to extend the pass.
Exactly. I agree. That's something that I've said during this entire process about Drake Maye too. Love Jaden Daniels, first prospect that I had fell in love with during the entire process, not even at the quarterback position. I don't really think any player improved better on a year-to-year basis, which is, I think, a really important attribute for prospects, is that you can improve drastically on a year-to-year basis and you can take the learning. And Jaden Daniels definitely has that. But I've never been a fan of those types of quarterbacks that just kind of immediately get the ball and run with the ball. Because at the end of the day, this is a pass-first league, and I want a quarterback who can be mobile, because you also do need that in today's league. But you also want a quarterback whose first instinct isn't going to be to run with the ball and is going to do everything in his power to actually get something in the passing game before he takes off. And that's exactly what Drake Maye is. What would you say is your favorite attribute about Drake Maye, and then what's your biggest concern with Drake Maye?
Biggest concern is probably the easy misses, because a lot of them come like underneath and you would like towards the sideline. And I mean, with him, it's really just his arm getting ahead of his hips, just kind of rushing his mechanics. And again, that's coachable. But you are going to be worried about those easy misses, because those are the passes you're going to have to hit at the NFL, because they don't get easier.
Yeah.
But what I love most, man, just this guy's got big play ability. I mean, that's kind of the difference between him and Jane Daniels. Be like, well, Jane Daniels got a ton of big play ability. Yeah, that is true. But when you look at overall ceilings, I think Jane Daniels is a hell of a lot closer to what his ceiling is, opposed to Drake Maye. I think the ceiling could be much, much bigger. Much bigger. I mean, I feel like he's a more mobile, at least coming out, more of a mobile Justin Herbert. I feel like that's kind of it's going to be a common comp for him, because the arm talent's apparent. You're just going to worry about him a little bit on the throw bases. He's going to be able to develop. And I mean, right immediately, it was just fine for Justin Herbert. Truly was. And we're talking about Herbert with some wheels. I'm not saying he's going to be like this top 7 prospect right out, or top 7 quarterback right up from the get-go. But again, the ceiling is there. The ceiling is pretty darn good with Drake Maye.
Yeah. And I tweeted this out. I was like, it's crazy that people just find reasons to be mad or be upset. People were mad when they drafted Mac Jones, who had a high floor, or was expected to have a high floor but a low ceiling. And then you draft Drake Maye, who has, I don't even think he has a low floor. I just think it's lower than you would probably like, but an insanely high ceiling. It's just like, well, which one do you really want? I think the thing with Drake Maye is, like you've kind of said, those mechanics are just off. The footwork is not good. The footwork is off. But at the end of the day, I think if you're able to make that work, you're able to fix that, you're going to get much better development and play out of your quarterback, because your mechanics, your footwork, that is some of the most important parts of playing the quarterback position. And I think with Drake Maye, like you said, he kind of misses some of those open passes. He's inconsistent with his play overall. His accuracy is a little bit spotty, but I'm really curious to see how that accuracy improves and the consistency improves when his footwork starts to improve overall. And I think we're going to see a better prospect when that happens. And the Patriots do finally have the coaching staff in place to be able to develop a quarterback and back up the quarterback with an entire new offensive coaching staff. So that's something that I'm really excited for. But moving on here into the second round, the New England Patriots were originally at 34. There were rumors that they wanted either Xavier Legette or Keon Coleman. I'm perfectly fine. I don't know how you feel about Keon Coleman, but I do still have some PTSD from like N'Keal Harry, and I do think that Keon Coleman is a better player than N'Keal Harry, but I've taken that shot on that big, like slower outside X receiver. I think there are better prospects that fit the Patriots. I was fine. Xavier Legette, dude, I would have been balls to the wall excited. There were even rumors they were trying to trade back into the back end of the first round to select him. So if that was the case, I would have absolutely loved Xavier Legette on the Patriots, but that's okay. They trade down from 34 with the Chargers. They go to 37, and I know technically they won this trade. They basically just swapped 4th and 5th round picks. And if you look at kind of like the chart, the Patriots technically won. I didn't mind the trade, but I also didn't love the trade. I personally would have preferred to have an extra pick and have more shots at the draft ultimately, especially because heading into the draft, they had like 18 or 19 roster spots to still fill. So having a larger draft class did make sense. But at 37, they go Washington wide receiver Jalen Polk. And this was one of my guys. I was a really, really, really big fan of Jalen Polk. I think that he can fit what the Patriots need from an outside X receiver. Now, I understand in Washington, he didn't necessarily do a whole lot of that. Not to say he didn't do it at all, but he kind of played more of that, Y role, that Z role, not so much X. He played X from time to time. But I also think that's because you had Roma Dunze on the other side of the field, who was a true X receiver, who you were going to place him at X over somebody like Jalen Polk. And I know the Patriots drafted another wide receiver later on in the draft who can also fill that X role, which we'll get into here shortly. And Jalen Polk's kind of being compared to Jacoby Myers. I think McMillan is more Jacoby Myers than Jalen Polk is, but I do see where you would see some of that Jacoby Myers play in Jalen Polk. To me, I feel like the floor for Jalen Polk is a Jacoby Myers, as where the ceiling is somebody like Keenan Allen. What are your kind of thoughts here on Jalen Polk and the value at 37? Because I know some people felt like this was too early.
Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna feel about this comment, but like I feel like he is the yeah. Oh, right. It's not bad. I feel like he was probably the best complementary receiver in this class. Like I think he has the opportunity to be a really high end wide receiver too, because I don't know if he ever can be the guy, the alpha, but he can definitely be like what you see in like a T Higgins, Rashid Shaheed, that guy that can complement the alpha well, because he does so many things so stinking well. He is that junkyard dog that will go up in the middle of the field, not be scared of traffic, and come down with the ball. He's really good at catching away from his body. He can attack the field at all 3 levels, and like not like a vertical speedster, but a guy that can stack receivers and leverage downfield. So he like brings everything to the table. On top of that, like really good after the catch, had 14 forced missed tackles this past year. Like he brings a little bit of everything to the table. So I think for New England, they're still going to be looking for that alpha, but they're starting to get just good receivers in the core, which, well, that's something y'all kind of need.
yeah, you know, can't argue with that one. And I mean, too, the Patriots have ties back to Washington. The Patriots wide receivers coach actually was like the offensive quality control coach for Washington last year. So there is obviously some turnover from there, and you're just kind of hoping that you're going to be able to get the Jalen Polk, if not better, that you got in Washington. And obviously, too, there was a star-studded cast in Washington. Like there were a lot of good receivers between Polk,
Yeah.
McMillan, Roma Dunze. So like there's only so much production that can ultimately go around, especially when you have a true bona fide number one guy. I like the Jalen Polk pick. I think it is a safe pick. Is he going to turn into your number one guy? Probably not. It's kind of like that Jacoby Myers situation to where he's a really, really good number two. But if he's your number one, you're probably missing a piece somewhere along the offensive side. But at the end of the day, I don't mind it. The Patriots did try to get a number one wide receiver through free agency, through trade. It just didn't work out. So if you just aren't in a position to get a wide receiver one this offseason, that's fine. Push it down to next offseason where you're going to have good draft capital. You're supposed to lead the NFL in cap space. You'll have more than enough opportunities, especially with the wide receivers that are expected to hit free agency in 2025 to get that number one guy. But you don't just need a number one guy in the NFL. You need good complementary pieces behind him. And I think that's what the Patriots are building up right now after they missed on the opportunities to get that number one wide receiver. So overall, I like the Jalen Polk pick. What do you think about him as a route runner? Because there's kind of been some controversy with that.
He's not like the most crisp route runner. Like he'll like round out some of his routes and whatnot, but like on the like, short to intermediate, he's really explosive. He can explode. You keep him in like a relatively simplistic route where it's like maybe like a one break, but like he's fine. He's fine. There's far worse route runners. Like he understands how to run routes and whatnot. And it's not like he's got the long speed to really separate, but he knows how to leverage like corners and create that space for the quarterback to throw into. So
yeah. The way I put it is he's not a bad route runner. He just doesn't have a great route tree. Like this isn't a guy who you're scared going up against in terms of the routes that he's going to be able to run. So I guess there were some like reporters trying to say that he has like this excellent route tree. He's a great route runner. And I was like, I would push back on that. I think that there's a better receiver the Patriots got here.
I mean, he's not going to put you. Yeah, he's not going to put you in a blender, but he understands how to get position on you.
Yeah, he's also not N'Keal Harry, who like just kind of ran go routes. And
basically,
he's a better route runner than that.
Trying to box out a guy.
Exactly. But overall, pretty safe pick. A guy who's very willing, in terms of run blocking. He's a short-handed guy. You cannot go wrong. Very, very safe pick overall. But this is where it gets a little bit concerning because in the third round, the Patriots did hit offensive tackle. And I'm a big fan of what they did. Look, you get your franchise quarterback, you get your wide receiver, you go offensive tackle. That's what I wanted to see the Patriots do in the first three picks, was get quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, somewhere in that order. And that's what they did. But they went with Caden Wallace, offensive tackle from Penn State, who really the bright side here is the Patriots finally drafted a Penn State player. So Penn State players are probably on their board. We know that with Belichick, they just never would ever draft out of Penn State for some reason. At least that's not a thing anymore. But he's purely a right tackle, and you're getting him early in the third. And I personally had around a fifth round grade on Caden Wallace, to where if this is your guy, you can at least go and wait till the fourth round. Why are we getting him here high in the third? And I understand that, look, he didn't play over on the left side because Olu Fashanu was playing on the left side. He's a much better prospect. But I think a lot of Patriots fans are getting it confused too, to where Caden Wallace was like, after he was drafted by the Patriots, I have positional versatility and I'm comfortable playing anywhere on the offensive line. And then you have like Elliott Wolf saying that they view him as a left tackle. Just because you say you can play everywhere on the offensive line doesn't mean you actually can. You have to do it, right? Don't talk about it, be about it. And he hasn't done that. He strictly has been a right tackle throughout college. He hasn't had left tackle experience. He hasn't had guard experience in college. He was only a right tackle. So what do you think about this pick?
I was a little confused. Like I like Caden Wallace. Like you said, you had a fifth on him. I had a fourth, so I was a little bit higher than you were with him. But I thought ultimately he might end up right guard or kicking inside, because he kind of has this like, he can be like a phone booth type of blocker, like where you kind of worry about him on the outside is he can be a bit heavy footed when it comes to like dropbacks and whatnot. So like it did surprise me that he like snuck into the third round. surprised me that he went so high. Went so
Yeah.
high. And yeah, I don't know, man. I was confused about that because there were some other guys on the board that you might rather take shots at being a left tackle that might have like higher upside that sure they can't start now, but I'm not confident in Wallace starting now. Like I
Yeah.
firmly think what currently got McDermott out there.
They actually just released him like yesterday.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, they released Connor
Ooh.
McDermott yesterday. So he's not even on the team anymore.
I was legitimately
Um,
going to say, I don't know if this guy starts over McDermott at left tackle.
you know who
Well,
they're going to try to put at left tackle? They're looking to put Chukwuekorfor at starting left tackle.
why the hell would you all do
Yeah.
that?
That's what I'm saying. That's the frustrating part to all of this is that offensive line, especially left tackle, was such a turnstile last year. And whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May, you need to protect the blind side. That is the most important position here for I guess kind of the development of Drake May if you're going to throw him into the fire next year. And you're going to put Chukwuekorfor over on the blind side, who hasn't played left tackle since college, which was what, 6 or 7 years ago. Since he transitioned to the NFL with the Steelers, was strictly a right tackle. And now you have Caden Wallace, who's doing the same thing. For me, it was, if you want a left tackle, just get a left tackle. If you want a right tackle, just get a right tackle. Why are we making jobs so much harder? Why are we making guards play tackle? Why are we making, right tackles play on the exact opposite side? Because it's not as easy as it is for a left guard to play right guard, or right guard to play left guard. You going from right tackle to left tackle, that's like being like, okay, I write with my right hand. Now let me go ahead and write with my left, right? And that's why I liked Kingsley Suamataia. And I know there were some concerns with him. He ultimately went a few picks before to the Chiefs, but he was ambidextrous. So he was able to write with both hands. He felt very confident playing on both sides, which is why I liked him. And there was a run on tackles right before the Patriots ended up having to go with Caden Wallace. But if that's the case, trade up. And like you said, too, I think there were better options on the board. I'm trying to think. I don't remember if Patrick Paul and Dominic Puny, did those guys go before or
Patrick
after?
Paul went to the Dolphins. Fins up, baby. With their
Yeah, Broshmo's a Dolphins fan, guys.
sorry. Can't be perfect.
Can't be perfect.
Not since 72 at least. But yeah, we took Patrick Paul early. I think Kieran Amagaji was still there, which
He was still on the board. That's a guy that I like. Patriots didn't meet with him though, but
yeah, you're not going to start him at all in year one, probably more so swing tackle. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to say. Why don't you just kick Waynu out to left tackle? And then you have these your right tackles in Wallace and Okorf. I'd rather have Waynu go out there and
yeah, I think
fail because I don't think he can. But like,
I think
at least
the way
be
they
solid.
see it is they've tried him at like every single position. They had Michael Onwenu playing, right guard in his first season, then going out to right tackle in his second season, playing left guard, didn't really work out. And then, going back to right guard and then, now right tackle, to where they're like, you know what? He plays good on the right side. We've never seen him on the left side. Let's not make this harder, to where just keep him, especially after signing him to the contract they did, kind of paint him top 10 at both the guard market and the tackle market, just being like, let's make sure we get the best out of him and kind of not ruin any development that he still has. So I think they're going to keep him over on the right side, as where with Chukwuekorfor, that's a guy they signed to a 1-year deal. They don't really care if his development sucks or he doesn't pan out. And I think with Caden Wallace, again, they view it as you had Olu Fashanu on the left side. That's the only reason he didn't play on the left side. If that guy wasn't there, Caden Wallace would have been over there, which maybe he would have been. And I think that he has the physical traits to be able to play at left tackle. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, let's not say he can play left tackle until he does, because he could not name the last time he played a snap at left tackle. And that's obviously a little bit concerning. And the stats show that he hasn't played it at any snaps other than right tackle, at least at the collegiate level, in the last 3 years. So he's going to be more of a project player. He's a guy that might not even start year one. He does have the traits for sure. But again, it's something that we haven't seen before. So don't talk about it, be about it. And until I see it, I can't say that I'm very confident about him being able to play ultimately on the left side. So again, does he have the traits? Yes. Did I like the value on where they got him? No. Were there better options? Yes. So it was just kind of like a meh pick, which, hey, at the end of the day, in a year from now, maybe even less than a year from now, me and you could be sitting here like, oh crap, like this was actually like a really
Oh
good
yeah, no,
value for the
totally.
type of play this guy has. And that's just kind of the draft, right? Like that's just kind of how the draft goes. But right now, before he takes a snap and before we ultimately see how he plays and how he develops, high third round pick for a guy that, again, I projected as a fifth, you projected as a fourth. I think you could have waited a little bit earlier on. You could have even traded down and picked up extra draft compensation and then gotten him. But if that's your guy, ultimately, I guess that's your guy. I would have done things a little bit different. But anyway, moving on, Patriots get into day 3, and with their first fourth round pick, 103 overall, they go with another guard in Layden Robinson. And let me tell you, as a Patriots fan, I was like, you know what? Y'all were cooking. Day 1, day 2, other than the Caden Wallace pick for the most part, I would say you guys were cooking, man. You know, you get your franchise quarterback, you get Jalen Polk, potential franchise quarterback. Patriots fans got mad when I said that before, so I guess I got to be kind of careful with my wording there. And you got wide receiver, you got your offensive tackle, but you drafted 3 guards in 2023. And I understand that was Belichick. That wasn't Elliott Wolf. That wasn't Gerard Mayo. That might not be their guys. But why are we using a high fourth round pick, high compensation on a guard? If you want more depth in the interior of the offensive line, that's perfectly fine. But why not wait till the 5th round, the 6th round, the 7th round, and see if you're going to be able to develop some of those guys, pick up UDFAs? Why are we using a high 4th round pick when we still have so many more needs to fill? And especially high in the 4th round, when I feel like it's not a premium pick, but there's still a lot of high-end players that can be game changers here for you. And you go back to guard with a guy that I had projected again as a 5th round pick, even a 6th round pick.
Yeah, he was probably that mid day 3 area.
Yeah, what'd you think about this overall? I mean, like, did you have him on your big board? Like, did you like this guy? Did you like this guy?
I had like 500 people on my big board, so he was there. He was I think he was interior. I'm looking at my little spreadsheet right now. Interior 21 for me. I had a 6th round grade on him, but I mean, again, that's that midday 3 area. When they picked him, I was like, who do they hate at guard? Yeah. Is it Cole Strange? Is like, okay, we made a mistake there, you know, not going to bring him back after his contract's up. Or like, I mean, I felt like City Sal was, I'm saying that right? City Sal?
It's City So.
City So. I knew I was close. I really liked him coming out last year.
Yeah, we all said City Sal when he was drafted.
Yeah, and I honestly thought, I was like, he showed enough encouraging signs last year where I was like, okay, this is who they're going to move forward with. So I'm like, who do they not like at guard? Is this just like a guard depth? Because I get the offensive line, you know, you're going to have to replace some parts here and there. But I felt like, at least in terms of the interior, you felt like good with the guys you were moving forward with. So I was a little puzzled by it, honestly.
Yeah. We were. I think we were all definitely puzzled again, because you take in the 4th round last year, Jake Andrews, who really is supposed to be your future center. You take him high in the 4th. You then got City So, I want to say in the 4th or 5th. And then in like the 6th round, you had gotten Antonio Mafi. So you got a lot of depth in the interior. And then in 2022, like you said, you draft Cole Strange in the 1st round. That's a lot of guards. That's a lot of guards in 2 years. And now adding another one here in the 4th, it's not like these are 6th, 7th round picks or UDFAs to where if it doesn't work out at the end of like, you know, the offseason, you can kind of just cut him. As a 4th round pick, this is a guy you're expecting to make the roster and at least be a developmental piece for you moving forward. And the way that I saw it, after they drafted Caden Wallace, I said, okay, maybe Caden Wallace is going to start at right tackle. Michael Onwenu is going to be put back at right guard, which is where he plays his best. Put players back in the positions that they succeed the best in. And we're just going to kick left tackle down the can. And Chukwueze Okorafor is going to play there, at least for this season. And then they made this pick. And I said, what do they know that we don't? Because Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo, those are very smart guys. If you don't know Elliott Wolf, he's the son of Ron Wolf, who's like one of the best general managers of all times back in the day when he was the general manager for the Packers. This guy's smart. He knows what he's doing. What do they know that we don't, that they say we need help at guard? And the way that I've been thinking about this lately is, what if they don't see Cole Strange in their future? What if Cole Strange is a cap casualty or a roster casualty, or if they're able to ship him off for draft compensation? pictures just came out of the guys kind of practicing and on the field not too long ago, and we saw Cole Strange in street clothes. This guy has had promise at times. He's shown some really bad plays at times, but he has been plagued by injuries ever since he was drafted in 2022. And him being in street clothes is telling us that he's likely not ready to start the season. So I wonder if they see this as we're going to put City So from right guard back to left guard where he originally played in college. Because like you said, City So, he showed a lot of potential. They tried to play him at left tackle, didn't work at all, put him at right guard, and he showed like he was developing really, really well down the stretch of this past season. Put him back at left guard, which is where, again, you ultimately had him in college, putting him back where he succeeds. And then you're putting Layden Robinson at right guard to be your starting right guard, and then Michael Onwenu is right tackle. And then Antonio Mafi just like kind of like a depth guard. That's kind of what I'm expecting them to do. And I think that that's overall what the Layden Robinson pick is projecting. But again, I had him as a later round guard. I think he's good in terms of run blocking, not so good in terms of pass protection. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. No, he is a vastly different player moving forward than backwards. Like good at firing out his stance, and he wants to lay people out. He'll like overextend and fall on his butt, but wants to lay people out. But like going backwards, yeah, like he is. Again, you kind of working with a guy that's a bit more heavy with the feet, but very strong, very strong.
Yeah,
So,
and he has that
yeah,
physicality too. Like he has the physicality that you do like in a player. There's been some discussion about trying him at tackle. Please don't try him at tackle. Also, I think
oh
he's too
god, no.
small. He's too small to
Yeah.
play at tackle too.
If anything, I thought it
So
may have been a center thing too.
yeah. So
But I
let's
mean,
just not even try. Let's not try putting him at
yeah,
tackle. Belichick's not here. Let's not be dumb anymore. But like I said, overall, there might be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about to where, you know, in a year from now, less than a year from now, we could be looking at this and saying, this was actually a good pick and it was a necessary pick. But at least for the time being right now, you're kind of scratching your head and being like, why did you make this move? You know, especially when you had guys like Cam Hart on the board and Nehemiah Pritchett that I feel like you could have gone with. There was like a lot of really good players still on the board that I was fans of. But anyway, moving on to the next fourth round pick that they got via trade with the Chargers earlier on that we talked about. You get Javon Baker. This is one of my favorite picks the Patriots made. I thought it was excellent value. I had him as a third round pick. I thought that after they drafted Jalen Polk, he might be off their board just because they got the guy who could play outside, X receiver, contested catch situations. Javon Baker was that true X receiver during his time. Where was he? Out of UCF. To me, I wonder if there's going to be a competition between those guys as to who is going to be that true X receiver. I know that Baker was only an X receiver for the most part in college, and that Jalen Polk was kind of that move guy who played outside in the slot. He played X, he played Y, he played Z. But I do feel like Javon Baker can play that Z role because he's a really, really good route runner. Like he not only runs his routes really well, but he has a really good route tree. While I feel that Jalen Polk is a better contested catcher and is a more short-handed wide receiver, which is why I would probably prefer Jalen Polk as my X and then having Javon Baker as my Z. I don't know if that's a hot take, but just kind of looking at the styles of play and their kind of strengths and weaknesses, I just feel like that makes a lot of sense. But Javon Baker has that mentality that you're looking for too. I mean, immediately gets drafted by the Patriots and says, "Bring your popcorn because I want to make people in wheelchairs stand up." I mean, that's a bold thing to say. That is a bold thing to say for your first thing drafted by the Patriots. If that was Belichick, they would have cut him immediately. But I'm a big, big fan of Baker. Like I said, my biggest concern with him is going to be his drop issue. He had over a 10% drop rate this past season. And it's just like passes that are coming right towards you. Like if me and you are playing backyard football and you're just dropping passes, that's essentially what some of his passes were. So that's a little bit concerning, but I think he plays faster than his 40 time. He's super, super explosive. Also another deep threat. And I think that he's not just a guy who's going to work as a deep threat, but can kind of work in the short to intermediate route too with his route running ability and has some really good yards after the catch ability also.
Yeah, no, the dude, like you said, like their focus drops. A guy that's looking to go before he catches the football. Very fixable. They're honestly, when you look at drop rates and it's like a focus drop issue, you don't worry too much. You don't worry too much because, like, you look at his contested catches, this guy goes up. He is one of the most competitive guys at the catch point, and like just because he's from Central Florida, he was formerly at Alabama. This guy was a highly regarded recruit, so nothing to sleep on, nothing to scoff at. Like he's got that dog, he's got that alpha in him, and yeah, I think he's going to contest on the outside in terms of be competitive with whoever else that they bring in there. I don't know even who's working on the outside. Cedric Bourne, who's again more of a
Yeah,
move guy,
Kendrick
slot guy.
Bourne, KJ Osborne, those are the guys you're essentially looking
Oh,
to kind
KJ
of play
Osborne, slot guy.
outside. Yeah, essentially. Got a lot of slot guys here. But what do you think? What do you think about kind of that competition for X and Z receiver? Do you think that there's one guy like Jalen Polk or Baker that should play the X over the other? Or do you think that both guys can play the X, both guys can play the Z?
Uh honestly, I would when it comes to Polk, like play him everywhere. Just move this guy around, kick him in the slot, play him as that motion receiver, play him at the X. I mean, I feel like your number one's not going to be set in stone. The only thing set in stone is Polk is going to be on the field. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, then just work it around with Polk there.
So really
So
use him
like,
as that Jacoby Myers role, huh? Like just play him
yeah,
everywhere, find
exactly.
those mismatches, play him inside, outside, just play him everywhere along the offensive formation if you're going to get the best out of him. Don't play him at one specific position the entire game because you're not going to get your return on investment, essentially.
Yeah, and just hope he scores more touchdowns than Jacoby.
Yeah, dude, Jacoby Myers didn't score his first touchdown till what, like his third season with the team or something like
It
that.
was
Third or
wild. I was
fourth
like, how is
season.
this the best, one of the best receivers in the league that has yet to score a touchdown? Like, it's just
Yeah.
unheard of.
But you know what? They also were never scoring touchdowns with that offense. So I
Yeah,
guess it wasn't too surprising. But
tis true.
anyway, it's true. Yeah, dude, it is true because you had what? Cam Newton and then Mac Jones, and they were focused on the run game, and then Mac Jones fell off. Like that offense was a train wreck. But anyway, moving on
It
to
was
the sixth
train wreck
round.
last year.
The Patriots in the sixth round go cornerback Marcellas Dial, the only defensive player they drafted in this entire draft. Again, I thought that there were better players on the board. There was a cornerback that fell pretty far that I was like, ooh, they should get here. I forget who it was. But also you got to run on cornerbacks in the fifth round. They didn't have a fifth round pick because of that trade with the Chargers swapping fifth and fourth round picks. But Cam Hart and Nehemiah Pritchett both go in the fifth. I was high, very, very high on both of those guys. And I was surprised that somebody like Cam Hart even fell to the fifth because I thought that he had a really, really good offseason and a really good Senior Bowl. But what do you think of Marcellas Dial? Kind of this, I don't want to say big. I've seen him at 5'10", so between like 5'10" and 6 foot. 6 foot. But he has the speed to be able to play on the outside, right? Like he has that 4.4 speed to be able to play. Kind of plays bigger than his overall size. Not very good against the run. He's kind of been labeled as this ball hawk. What were your thoughts on him and the value?
Yeah, I thought it was good value. He's got size to play on the outside. I'm not worried about that. I think he was labeled at 6', 190. So I mean, he's at 190. That's great size for the outside. So I'm okay with that. I think at the Shrine, they were trying to work him at safety a little bit too, just out of curiosity. But if anything, like he's a good man corner, like one of the better man corners in this class. I don't really think he's got a good feel for zone, or at least it didn't look like that at South Carolina. But good length and doesn't get like overtly handsy. Like he knows how to be discreet with his hands during the route. And dude, he will scrap with guys on in jump ball scenarios. Like you gotta earn the catch because he will be scrapping until you hit the ground. He's got that little peanut punch too, which I just love. That's one of the things I think South Carolina just trains that. I was saying the same stuff about Cam Smith last year. So yeah, I liked I think he was definitely among like this was a really good corner group on day 3. Like there was tons of talent to be had. So I'm glad that they went in there and especially getting a little bit more size there at the corner position because you have relatively smaller guys outside of
Yeah.
Gonzalez on the roster.
Yeah, they do. They have Alex Austin and Sean Wade, who are probably a little bit bigger to around the same size, but they're fighting
Yeah,
for roster spots. They're not
yeah,
even
they're not bringing that
locked to
speed
make the
element
roster.
either.
Exactly. And the guys that you do have that are locks to make the roster, Gonzalez, who's obviously your number one outside perimeter cornerback. But other than that, it's like Jonathan Jones, who's 5'10", and Marcus Jones, who's like, I want to say
He should be in your slot.
5'8", 5'9". So yeah, he's obviously not a guy that ideally you want playing on the outside, but you know, Marcellas Dial had like some of the most pass breakups in the nation or something like that. Like the dude is an absolute dog. He led his team in interceptions. I think it was not this past season, but the season before. I think it was in 2022, if I remember correctly with my
That was
research.
with
So
Cam
he's
Smith on the roster.
yeah. So like that says something. That says something, right? So this guy has potential. It's just, are you going to be able to unlock him, especially transitioning to the NFL level? Like you mentioned, he even played a little bit of safety. So there's been some discussion on maybe the Patriots even try to play him at free safety and that this was more of a role to fill that free safety role more than it was corner. But hey, you know what? I could see this being even a replacement for Jonathan Jones, a guy who can play outside, a guy who can play inside, a guy who can play deep, and is just going to make plays in every single phase of the game. So it might not have been a pick that everybody had kind of on their board watching, but it's a pick that definitely has potential. And if there's one position this team knows how to develop, it's those cornerbacks. So I'm definitely excited for this one. But next up in the 6th round, which ironically was the pick they got with the Jags in a trade for Mac Jones, which just feels wrong now when you look at it.
They got everything Mac Jones wasn't.
Exactly. They got literally the exact opposite of Mac Jones with this pick. The Patriots double up at quarterback and go Joe Milton. I mean, it's good. It's good value. I liked where they got him. I know that some people kind of had him projected to be even like a 5th round pick. So getting him here later on in the 6th, not that bad. The thing that brings his grade down for me overall when my grades do come out is the fact that you still had needs on the board and there were still good players that you could have drafted to where, I mean, Joe Milton, you know, he's not going to be your starting quarterback. You got the guy who you're expecting to be your starting quarterback. Why not go with an edge rusher? Because you do need help there. Why not double up at offensive tackle? Why not take another shot at a wide receiver or something? So I think there were a little bit more questions in terms of that, but you can't deny the value they got, and you can't deny the fact that Joe Milton's got some dog in him, bro. Like, Joe Milton is a hell of a player. Joe Milton's a guy that everybody was talking about in the pre-draft process, not because you're like, this is a guy to watch. Like, this is a guy that is going to transition to the NFL level and be one of the best quarterbacks, but because this dude can launch an orange like 100 yards out of the stadium, just like flat-footed. It is absolutely absurd. I don't think it's even close. The athleticism he has, but the arm strength that this guy has is second to none in this entire class at the quarterback position. What did you think of the surprising Joe Milton pick?
I was like, oh man, they got a developmental tight end. I like it. And then they came out, or he came out, was like, no, I'm working in as a quarterback. And I like it, dude. He's got tools. He's got a big arm. He can run. He's like a freight train when he starts running. Great size. And I think, hey, if you start developing him and either you get a really high-end backup that could even maybe contest, like if Maye goes down, maybe you get like a Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin situation. That's kind of like the best case scenario. But if anything, you just call and be like, okay, we're gonna work you in as a tight end, and hopefully get like a Logan Thomas, you know. And I mean, shoot, man, my comp for him was what was it, Tyree Jackson? I think, yeah, Tyree Jackson, the guy that went from quarterback to tight end coming out of Buffalo. So like you love the tools, you love the athletic ability, you love the size, and I think it really could work two ways. Like if it doesn't work at quarterback, then start making the transition to tight end, because it's not like you got like a ton of guys past Hunter Henry there.
Yeah. I mean, you got Austin Hooper, and then you got Jaheim Bell, who we'll talk about here next. There's really no one outside of Hunter Henry that you have moving forward. But you know, with Joe Milton, I compared him to like your Dollar General Cam Newton, because I think there's a lot of like, you know, kind of play styles with those. Like your big quarterback who's athletic, he can launch the ball down the field. Joe Milton doesn't have a great football IQ, doesn't make the greatest decisions, doesn't have the greatest accuracy. But like, hey, if you're down by 5 and you're on like the 30-yard line and you just need to win the game, take Drake Maye out and just throw Joe Milton in. And you know what? He doesn't need good mechanics. He don't need to drop back. This dude is just gonna get the snap, launch the ball, and
Arm
that's your
punt.
best at winning the game. Literally arm punt. Yes, that is exactly what has been said amongst Patriots fans is this dude is just going to arm punt the ball. They were like, you don't even need a guy to kick the ball off to start the game anymore. Just get Joe Milton to throw the ball. But this is a guy that's going to be a lot of fun to watch in training camp, in the preseason. Realistically, he's not going to compete for the job. But hey, like you mentioned, you never know. You never know. It could be an RG3 Kirk Cousins situation. I doubt it. It's a different generation of the NFL, but you really never know. Things happen. Things happen. I think best case scenario, you make Joe Milton look good and you raise his value because it's the quarterback position. You could get a higher pick for a guy that just showed potential. Might not be a starting piece, but says, you know what? You showed some intangibles that I like. I'll give you a 4th round draft pick. I'll give you a 5th rounder. If you can swap him for a higher pick than you ultimately got for a guy that kind of just was a backup for you the entire time, that's a good pick. That's good value. And I think that's best case scenario that you're kind of hoping for. So, again, better options. You probably could have gone here to build your team around Drake Maye. But again, if you can swap it for a higher pick, why not? And at least we have a pick that's going to be fun to watch. But last pick for the Patriots in the draft, arguably the greatest value that they got. Arguably, I mean, I think it's between this and Javon Baker. The Patriots go in the 7th round, Jaheim Bell, tight end. This was a guy that I had pinned in as a projected 5th round pick, and they're getting him here in the 7th. Broshmo, what do you think about this? Because this was probably one of my favorite picks.
Yeah, I mean, you had him as a 5th. I had him as a 5th. The biggest knock on him is his size. Like,
yeah,
he's not going to be your inline tight end. He's more this tight end 2 or H-back, which is perfect, man. Van Pelt was doing that stuff. Like, maybe you could work him in as your, like, Harrison Bryant into this offense because, like, his receiving ability is freaking bonkers. His ability as a ball carrier is pretty darn good, too. It's like when he was at South Carolina in 2022. There was 2 games where he started at running back. He took like 20 carries in both those games. So this is a cat that can do it with his yak ability. He's good downfield. He goes up. He's competitive at the catch point. You do worry about the size. You worry about the lack of length. So is he like, yeah, you're going to have to use him like a big slot, but like versatility. He gives you really good versatility. So I like that right here.
Yeah, dude's got absolute dog written all over him. I think the reason that he fell to, and Broshmo, I don't know how you feel about this, but he never thrived in one specific role. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't this inline tight end. He wasn't a guy that you were going to kind of put out wide. He just was kind of put everywhere. They lined him up at H-back, and he didn't necessarily thrive in one position over the other, which kind of made you think like, okay, what is this guy going to be as he transitions to the NFL? And it wouldn't surprise me if whether the Patriots do this or another team does this, they look at him and they say, you also can't block. That's probably the worst part about Jaheim Bell is this dude just is not a good blocker, which you need to play the tight end position. And like you said, he also doesn't have the size to play the tight end position. So I wonder if a team's going to look at him and say, I like you as like a big wide receiver. And I'm waiting for a team to kind of make that transition with him. Some people have thrown out like the Mike Gesicki comps. I could see where they're coming from, but like Mike Gesicki, despite not being a good blocker, I would say is a better blocker than Jaheim Bell and has the size to play tight end. Jaheim Bell just doesn't have that. But I mean, like you said, the dude's yards after the catch ability is like absolutely absurd. Easily one of the best in this class. I would say it's probably like after Brock Bowers, he's probably the best in this entire class. I don't know if that's a hot take, but that is how I feel. I mean,
I think that's fair. I think he's probably there with some of the other guys like Sinan and whatnot.
I think it was Football Insights on Twitter that had this, where it was like drafted tight ends with a career of 2 yards per route run or better since like 2017, and it was like Brock Bowers, Dallas Goedert, and Jaheim Bell. Like, this dude is absurd once you get the ball in his hands. And it just comes down to another receiving threat for Drake Maye. And that's what the Patriots need. They need receiving threats at the end of the day. So I like the pick. I like the value. Are you locking him into a roster spot? No. But I think he's another guy that's going to be really fun to watch in the preseason and kind of see how he develops, because the Patriots don't really have a whole lot of yards after the catch guys. And having somebody who's able to do so, like the Patriots are getting their Malachi Corley here, like their poor man's Malachi Corley with Jaheim Bell. So
Yeah.
that's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah, he's not necessarily dead in the water as a blocker. You just gotta use him as a move blocker. Like,
Mhm.
gotta get him in motion. But again, yeah, these guys fall because they're tweeners. They need to be schemed up. You see it on both ends of the football. Like last year, you had Carl Brooks, who ended up getting drafted by Green Bay, had this tweener size, didn't really fit any one role, had a very productive rookie year. If you got a plan for these guys, they can succeed. It's just, again, it takes game planning to make these
Yeah, for
guys
sure.
productive.
So, guys, that was the breakdown on really every selection that the Patriots made here. So, Broshmo, before we leave, I want to hear, what was your good from the Patriots draft? What was your biggest good, positive takeaway from the Patriots draft? And what was your biggest, as a thumb kind of pops up there with me, but what was your what was your bad takeaway? What was the worst part of the Patriots draft?
I think the best part was you got your quarterback, you got him some receivers. Even if you don't know if you have a true like number one in there, variety is the spice of life when it comes to the wide receiver core. If you could get a lot of guys that do things a little differently than one another, then you could get by on that. Shoot, I mean, the freaking Chiefs didn't really have an alpha. You can make an argument that Travis Kelce kind of fell off a little bit this past year. Rashee Rice didn't really emerge till later in the year. They really didn't have that number one. You could get by as long as you have, like, again, that variety and you got your guy. You got your guy. You take those swings. That was like, I think that was the hugest part of this draft for the Patriots.
100%. And then what would you say would be your bad?
What the hell were y'all doing at offensive line?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell were y'all doing at all? That was the biggest hiccup in the draft, because you, in my opinion, you reached on a couple of guys, and like, for one, I don't know if either of them are gonna. Well, definitely not Robinson, but Wallace. I got some questions if he can make it at tackle, especially left tackle. I felt like there was higher ceiling options, because ultimately at the end of the day, man, the draft can be a crapshoot, and you typically want to take shots on upside, on tools, especially in the first 4 rounds of the draft. And I didn't feel like any of the, like, Wallace or Robinson really have those tools or outstanding athletic traits to really make you salivate, So that's probably my biggest down for the Patriots.
Yeah, and by the way, me and Broshmo, like, we didn't discuss what our good and bad was before
Ooh.
actually hopping on. So you guys hearing this straight off the bat, like right now in real time, is also the first time that I'm hearing this. Ironically, that was also my good and my bad for the Patriots too. The good was you get your potential franchise guy, you don't trade down, you don't second guess it. If you can hit on the quarterback position, it expedites the process, but also your margin of error opens up significantly. You saw that with the Houston Texans. I think you look at a team like Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? No. Is he an elite quarterback? No. And he has a really, really, really good supporting cast around him, which is something that the 49ers have taken years and years and years to do. I don't want to say it's a lot easier to hit on your quarterback than to get like the best running back and a top wide receiver, 2 top wide receivers, and a top 3 tight end. But at the end of the day, if you can do that, you don't need a top player at each position surrounding that guy. So I love what the Patriots did there at quarterback. I also love that they did double up at wide receiver. They also, doubled up at offensive line. But speaking of offensive line, that is also, I would say, my bad. I really like the draft for the Patriots overall, but I think the players you selected at offensive line were a bit of a reach. Also, going guard as early, I thought was a little bit questionable. It's not that I hate the player. It's just that, him playing at right guard, you already have a guy who can be pinned at right guard, whether that's Michael Onwenu or whether that's City. So, like we both kind of talked about, some questionable picks, questionable value, but again, it could have been a lot worse. As Patriots fans, we've seen it can really be a lot worse. But Broshmo, I appreciate you for coming on, being on the channel here today, breaking everything down. Why don't you let people know where they can find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Broshmo. Hey, if you want to get an early look into the 2025 class, I'm going to be starting my summer deep dives. I'm going to be already diving into the 2025 class, because that's what I do, man. I love the draft. And if you want a nice watch list of players, even if you just like college football, I'm going to be giving you players to watch for college football. It's going to be a hell of a
Ironically,
time.
too. Ironically, too, Patriots fans have actually already been asking. So about the 2025 class, and I'm like, all right, let's calm down. We just
Let's
we
reel
just
back.
stopped.
A lot,
We
lot's
just
gonna
stopped,
change.
But Broshmo does this like year round. So if you're already looking at the 2025 class, Broshmo is going to be your guy for all that. Did you drop a 2025 mock draft already?
Yeah, it was all for just piss and giggles. Like, I
So
mean,
if you guys
at
want to see
that
a
point,
mock draft for 2025, go check out Broshmo
yeah,
at Broshmo. But
just
we will have
highlighting
him linked.
players. Just highlighting players. Haven't really dove into the tape yet. Just guys that caught my eye during the season when I was looking at actual draft eligible prospects.
Which is a great place to start. But guys, we will have Broshmo linked in the description box. We'll also have him linked in the comment section below. Go ahead, subscribe to Broshmo, check out his content. I truly believe that it is truly second to none. He is my one-stop shop for everything in the draft, and he should be yours too. But Broshmo, buddy, thank you for coming on the channel again. Make sure you guys let us know in the comment section below what you think of the Patriots draft, and check out my breakdowns on each individual player too. But without further ado, appreciate you guys for watching, and most importantly, don't forget, go Pats.